I remember when I first walked into the hospital room, and it was shocking. He was at least 50 pounds lighter, and he was yellow. And I looked at him, and immediately, it was just dropped in my spirit. I felt in my heart, Raz, he's your next assignment. And to be honest, I was very hesitant. I was scared because I didn't know my father-in-law. He was a stranger to me. In the 30 years that I've been with his son, he hardly visited. He was not conversational because he was more like a hermit. What I didn't know was that God was, plunging us into a 5-week assignment. And in those 5 weeks, we saw something that happened that was so incredible. It was transformational, and it happened right before our eyes. I think that if it had not happened the way that it did, we probably would have said, oh, it's just his time. He was older. He was facing death, and it was time for him to change because he had no other choice. But God gave us the opportunity and the gift, even though I have to admit that it was the hardest assignment for me in my whole entire life. It was the hardest assignment. It was also one of the best assignments that I ever had because of the beautiful experience that came out of that. What Richard and I and my daughters learned during that time is the power of forgiveness. And so, there's so many stories and there are so many teachings on forgiveness, but when you actually experience the healing power behind it, it changes your life. It changes your perspective. It changes how you see people. It just changes you in such a radical way. In a radical way. So what we saw was God's healing power because we decided to forgive first. And when I say decided to forgive first, I'm not saying that there wasn't forgiveness, because we did. We forgave him. We felt that we didn't hold anything against him. But there was reservations of allowing him in our lives. We took him in, and he was not a person that was feeling like he did anything wrong. He was a cantankerous old man, and I smile now because that was one of the things that I actually fell in love with. I guess it posed a challenge for me. I don't know. And what I started to do was that I started to act like myself. I was trying to find what we say in Spanish, la vuelta, right? How do you deal with a person when they're like that? And then finally I heard the Lord. You know what? I'm gonna say it. I heard the Lord clearly say, "Be yourself, Ross. Be yourself." And that's what I started to do. So I started to be myself around him, and I started joking with him and trying to get at least a smile and some food in him because he had lost so much weight. And eventually, it was like almost chipping an iceberg. I got through, and he started to talk with me, and we started to bond. And I have to tell you that that bond actually shocked me deeply. I didn't expect to connect with a person that had alienated himself for the past 30 years so quickly. And I truly believe that it was because we took forgiveness to the next level. And when my husband describes that as, is when you take and you forgive by serving, even though that person does not deserve it. So that's what we started to do. So, you fast forward, and I remember when we were burying him, and I hadn't cried because I was trying to keep it together, you know. And I don't know, I'm getting emotional. And I remember as they were putting him down on the ground, right? I said, I remembered those words that I had told him in the hospital. I'm going to be with you. And I knew in my heart I was saying, I'm going to be with you to the very end. And I was. And that's when I finished my assignment, you know. Sometimes we write people off, and rightfully so, right? Because they've done something that was extremely, extremely hurtful and painful. But what I learned during that journey that we took together is that God has the ability, He's more than capable, as a matter of fact, of healing the wounds that are deep within our heart, for us to move forward and for us to truly love people for just who they are, right? There were certain areas that He didn't change because He wasn't capable of at that point in time. But I accepted Him for who He was, a recluse, a hermit, a cantankerous little old man. I accepted Him for that, and I loved Him. I loved Him with all my heart, during that time. God gave me the ability to love Him, to forgive Him. God gave my husband, who was hurt so deeply by Him, the ability to love Him, to treat Him like a king, to be a son to Him. It was amazing. And so why do I share this? Because forgiveness is so important in God's kingdom. It's so important. And sometimes we hold grudges, and sometimes we hold people captive. We don't grant them forgiveness. And what we're really doing is keeping ourselves in a prison. We're keeping ourselves in a prison, and God wants us to get out of that prison. As a matter of fact, we hold the key most of the time, and all we have to do is just put the key, in the door to let ourselves out. And because of pride, because there's no other word, right? Because of pride, we want to hold that person hostage. We want them to feel our pain, to feel what rejection, to feel whatever it is that person caused us. To be honest with you, they'll never feel what you felt. It's just a reality of it. And if it happened for years, they will never feel it. There's just no payback that's big enough for that. And so when Christ commands us to forgive, He understands the deep hurts. He understands, because He was man. He became a man. He came to this earth, to forgive us, even though we didn't deserve forgiveness. God wants the chance to heal you. He wants the chance to heal your heart. He wants the chance to be able to free you from the guilt, the condemnation, the animosity, the hatred, the bitterness. You fill in the blank, whatever it is, the anger, whatever it is that you're carrying today. He wants to free you from that. He wants to heal you from that. And so you're probably going to start asking me, well, Roz, how do you do that? And I have to tell you, it's a day-to-day thing. Sometimes a moment-to-moment thing. When you feel that anger, when you feel that animosity, when you feel that resentment, when you feel that bitterness, when you feel that hatred coming up into your life, you say out loud, Lord, I forgive, and fill in the blank, so and so, whoever that name is. And eventually what happens is that you have the ability to let go. And that's what you want to do, to be able to let go so that you can start healing inside.